Technically. I mean, it's up and down, but.
Hey.
Yeah, we've got a few minutes.
Good.
It is 5 o'clock. Everybody ready? All right, welcome to Peterborough Select Board meeting for May 20th, 2025. I'm Tyler Ward. With me are fellow Select Board members Bill Kennedy and our newest, Bonnie Tucker. Welcome. Give her a round of applause. You're in for it, so get ready. Here we go. Tonight's agenda, we are on air, and this will be archived on the town website and available on YouTube and all those great things, stream. Yeah. So tonight we'll have a public hearing shortly after this, pursuant to RSA 31:95-B, and that is always a good one, acceptance of unanticipated monies. It's like, you know, pulling a slot machine, even that $40. And then, you know, a couple different items there. Lions Club, that's nice. And then recreation support for the community center. And then we have a proposed policy change. We'll have Amanda Allen here, one of our town, citizens. Then there's a request for attorney opinion on the recent New Hampshire House Bill 511 and New Hampshire Senate Bill 62. Those are relating to immigration and how they affect our town's policy. Vote to request to expend the Greater Town District Expendable Trust Fund for Riverwalk parking lot and then another item. It's in there twice. Yeah. And then we'll hear from Fosh on Peg Station upgrades, and that's here in the townhouse, right? Talk about. And then we'll review our select board liaisons now. Anybody watching out there sees us maybe watching live on Tuesdays, but they don't know that we also liaison to several boards and committees. And we'll divvy those up tonight. And then we'll have minutes to approve from April 15th. And we'll get going. All right, but you had a point of order to call.
Well, I don't know if it's point of order. It's a motion to re-elect Tyler Ward as chair of the select board.
Second.
Okay.
Discuss. 2 against 1.
I think they ganged up on you, dude.
That was a quick one.
Feels good, doesn't it?
Thanks for that.
No, Tyler does an absolutely wonderful job. I hate to take it away from him. All that thunder.
All that.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, so I'd make a motion that we enter public hearing pursuant to RSA 31:95-B, and that is the acceptance of unanticipated monies.
I'll second that.
All those in favor? Aye. Great.
Greg, you want to speak to him?
Sure, yeah, the first piece, the $2,000 is from the Peterborough Lions Club. They were gracious to donate $2,000 towards our Teens in Action program, which is based towards later middle schoolers, 7th and 8th graders, and incoming 9th graders as well. Program, they do some community service, they get to go on trips, and this helps subsidize the trip aspect of it because we could do better trips if we get more money. So the Lions were great, and we asked for $1,500 and they gave $2,000, so very happy for that.
That's great. What kind of trips and what kind of community service?
Well, they run community service. A lot of it happens at the rec department, and it can just be weeding gardens and that sort of thing. And we try to do other pieces around town. We've done conservation projects in the past, or trail work and those types of things. And then trips, they'll go to like Canopy Lake Park, they'll go out to the ocean, they'll go to Six Flags, maybe some adventure type things like ropes courses and things too. So.
How many kids participate in the program?
We can take up to 10 kids and then 2 staff, and that fills a van.
Okay.
And there's 2 sessions of it. So we're starting with 2 2-week sessions this year. We were unable to find staffing for it last year, so it didn't run. We do have staff this year, so we're good to go. And I believe we have like 7 or 8 kids registered right now in that, and that's typically a late registration one because those teenagers can't commit to things early enough. So,
are there any fees attached to that program?
Yeah, the kids do pay a fee play as well. I think it's right around $500. It's pricey, but they get a lot out of it, so.
Okay.
I'm sorry, no, it's around $300.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. So I'd make the motion to accept the $2,000 from the Lions Club.
Take any questions from anyone?
Does anybody have any questions in the audience? See, I could read all of
You
them.
did.
Thanks for reminding me. I totally forgot. So I have that motion.
I'll second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Great. Speaking of teens and other kids in general, did anybody happen to know that Children and the Arts had a giant parade this past Saturday?
Really?
Yeah, right out here.
That's pretty much the only time
Gosh, has
they
that
did
ever
drizzle.
happened?
It was fantastic.
Yeah.
Was it not incredible?
Yeah.
Christy Loretto actually narrated it.
Oh, really?
Did he?
Yes, if you go online, you can hear his narration.
Well,
Facebook.
the best thing about that is seeing when the kids are going by and they're going about their business and they're looking for their people, and then when they get around them, like people start cheering them, their faces get really big and they get all happy. Like what? I mean, 30 years of making kids the center of attention is pretty incredible. Yeah, I love that. What's up, Al?
Hi, I'd comment on the music out front here. There was something about the beat that made me want to march with it. Obviously, it would take a lot, but it was quite a nice rhythm, and I thought I'd comment on it because I know you're a musician too. So.
Nice.
That's
Yeah.
Folk Soul, right? That was doing that?
I think they were,
I think
yeah.
Folk Soul was
It
during the
typically is.
parade. Yeah,
It's
they're,
quite good.
Yeah,
shout out to Folk Soul.
yeah. And then the puppets they had of Jeannie Connolly and Terry Reeves at the end. Was
Yeah.
That was sweet.
That was good. Really good. All right, enough of that. But it's, nice thing. Okay, next up on the public hearing, we're still in that. $40,000 from Friends of Peterborough Recreation for support of the community center renovation. Let me guess, Craig.
I can speak, and Kate Coon's also here to
And Kate, great.
speak on it. But yes, the Friends of Peterborough Rec, they got an Amplify grant for $40,000, and it's for HVAC work. And one issue that we ran into is the new windows that are going into the PCC don't hold a window air conditioning unit. And so we're hoping to utilize this money to put in mini splits into the classroom portions of the smaller rooms in the community center. Obviously more efficient, much quieter for those rooms than a window unit, and we'll have full view of the window, which the seniors have been commenting. They've been at the rec department office in our meeting room since the work started, and they love how bright it is and light. And
Yeah.
it'll be nice to have all window in the community center. So,
Nice.
Kate, I don't know if you have more to go on that.
Sure. First of all, just for correcting the minutes, it's Friends of Peterborough Recreation Projects. FPRP is the correct name of the 501c3
Good.
that, through which the grant, which received the grant. And then, we're hoping that you will vote to accept up to $40,000 because we don't know the exact cost yet. There's a bid still coming in. It's
Yeah.
going to be under that, we think, right?
It is. We're looking, probably the most right now, we're looking at about $30,000. But I just spoke with Harvey Construction today,
Okay.
and they want to also put in better radiators in the gym that are more efficient, and
Okay.
so they're getting quotes on that. So we're hoping to spend the full $40,000.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, as Craig said, it was an Amplify grant, which was a social service focused grant from M&T Bank. And we particularly wanted to target, because of the social services that run throughout the year there, that they had really inadequate air quality, terrible temperature, way too hot, burning radiators where the kids are, and too cold in other places, air conditioners falling out of, really, really needed to be addressed. So we were very fortunate to have obtained that grant, and would like it to go to the work.
That's great.
You've had this money in hand for a while now, haven't you?
Yeah, the grant was
You showed me the
granted
check, I see.
about a year
Yeah.
ago, but we had to just park it
Right.
until it could be expended. And that was fine. We had to verify, with the Amplify
Mhm.
grant. We had to do a grant update, but that was fine with them, that we hadn't spent it yet. So this is the time.
Any comments from?
Kate, Friends of Peterborough Recreation Projects, is that a subcommittee of the Recreation Committee?
No, it's a freestanding
Independent?
501c3.
Yeah, just so
Yeah, it's a
people-
nonprofit, yep.
Gotcha.
I can read the mission, but it's to do fundraising and support for projects related to Peterborough Recreation. So it's not only the PCC.
Gotcha. Great. Anybody in the audience want to stop us from taking this one?
Yeah, have we ever turned down?
I always ask, you never know. All right.
I'll make the motion that we accept the $40,000 from the Friends of Peterborough Recreation projects in support, for support of the community center renovation.
Great. You know,
Second?
get on the books with some seconds? Sure. All those in favor, right? Aye. Great, yeah, thanks so much. Again, volunteers helping the town. All right. Okay, since I don't see Amanda here yet, let's, can we go down to vote to downtown TIF trust fund?
Yep, just we'll need a vote to close the public hearing first.
I knew that. Any other comments on the monies we've received? All right, I'll make a motion to close that public hearing we just had.
I'll second it.
And all those in favor?
Aye.
Great.
It's a good thing you're here.
I
To
know.
remind me. All right, so the Riverwalk parking lot, we saw the bill for all that mulch.
Yes,
Yeah,
so we have
smells like mulch down there.
it looks great. I think the plantings look really nice down there. I park down there every day, so been watching the project evolve.
Wait a minute, you walked that far
Yeah,
to get here?
all the way from in the farthest corner of the Riverwalk parking lot even.
Get outta here.
Yeah, that's really nice walk.
You don't park right out front, right here.
No, I haven't done that. I've ever done that, I don't think. So on
Good
some
for you.
very rare occasions. No, it's a really nice walk in the morning. But, so we've got the landscaping. We have one bill for landscaping, that's $29,767. We have the annual EV charging station, electricity expenses for $6,232. And the FY26 bond payments of $73,804. Those are all related specifically to the Riverwalk parking lot. And then the second batch of requests are to request the bond payment amount funds from the Greater Downtown TIF as well for the Main Street Bridge. That bond payment this year is going to be $127,395. And of course, our annual porta potties bill. The porta potties in Depot Square behind the Toadstool Bookshop are the town's porta potties, and that's $5,000 a year. So Lily would like to just make the one request of the trustees of the trust fund, and so we've bundled all of those votes into the single meeting request.
How much is the EV charge offset by revenues? Do you know?
It's in the revenues that you got when we were going through the budget process. I know Lily had it broke.
3-4 months ago.
Yeah, I'd have to pull it up to look, I'm not sure.
Because it's somewhat misleading because it does pay for itself.
It does. It mostly pays for itself.
That sounds like not quite.
But not quite, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, is there any other work to be done down there in the parking lot with the plantings and?
I don't think so, I think that was it. I believe that that's the scope of the plan that Danny had presented to you earlier.
Is the play field down there?
I don't know if that's going in this year or not, or if that moved forward. I know that the next steps that we're going to be looking at is doing work on the crosswalk on Main Street and improving that.
Okay. But we're not voting for the
No, just the
Grove
work
Street
that's...
Bridge at this point?
No, we're not voting on that now. You've already done a vote on the engineering work and all of that.
Right.
And then once the work's done, so I think we'll be back with the finals, with the final invoices for
Okay.
those. Okay.
Which Main Street crosswalk?
So the one at Depot,
Oh,
Main and Depot. I think that's the last of that, the work that was in that, that Danica presented.
Right. Forgot about that. Okay, so we can do one motion?
Yes, one motion for all of the votes
The whole-
requested.
whole shebang.
Yep.
Does anybody in the audience have any questions about all of those things? Hey, Al, yes.
I don't know if it's been done or it's considered, upgrading the charging station to a high-speed or fast station. There was some talk about it,
I
but,
don't think we're gonna go to a level 3,
okay.
but we can crank up the level 2, so they're a bit more powerful, but the leases are up next year.
Okay, all right, so.
Some time to think about that?
Yeah, the Peterborough Energy Committee is doing kind of the legwork for that at this point.
Excellent. Kate?
Yeah, Kate Kuhn, I had a question, and I think, Bill, you were alluding to that. I know there's been conversation about play structures, either natural, rock, and other, play structures or anything down there. And again, I just saw the pretty landscaping the other day, and I didn't see any evidence of that. So what is the...
It was built into
status?
the plan, but apparently they haven't installed the equipment yet.
So is that being budgeted too, or you sort of do it and then again request? I mean, how does that even work, I guess is what I'm asking.
I think we would probably have to allocate additional funds from
Well,
the greater downtown too.
I don't think that that was in the plan, the landscaping plan that was presented to the select board last year. I think it was just general landscaping around the parking lot. So I'm not sure where the greater downtown TIF, where that planning project landed with regards to the play structures. But we don't have any, I don't have anything right in front of us right now.
And don't forget, there's that ring, that asphalt ring near the bus stop that people can either do ring around the Rosie, or they could have a hacky sack circle, or
Great spot for a
your
hacky sack.
imagination is your limit, right? Any other questions? All right.
Did you make a motion?
I did not. Do you want? I could. I'll make a motion to expend those funds from the downtown, greater downtown TIF district,
And those are all the funds.
as stated. Second.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye. With regard to the play, I know it was part of an original plan, but it wasn't presented. We did the landscaping first. I'm not exactly sure where the status of that is at this point.
It sounds like Danica's the person there?
Yeah, Danica. But the other consideration I had too is, do you want kids running around in the parking lot?
Yes.
Or right next to the river, I think that was the other thing that had come up.
Yeah,
Well-
there were some considerations.
I suppose that's fair. Safety is an issue. You know, we could put a porta potty in that ring and paint it like a TARDIS.
Well, there's a trash can in there now, isn't there? There used to be.
No, there's plantings in there now. They just-
Oh, there is?
yeah, they
Good,
just put
good.
some-
That was real eyesore.
It sounds like maybe we should hear from Danica what her thoughts are.
Sure.
Yeah, I can follow up with her and just see if there was anything else that came out of that planning project. I know that it was part of the overall downtown visioning that she's been doing for the last 2 years, so I can kind of see where, if there was anything more that came out of it besides the landscaping.
Yeah, great questions. Thank you. We'll see what happens in the future. All right, up next, we'll get back to this policy statement on fair and equal treatment. Amanda Allen is here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Would you like to give us a little?
Sure, where
word
do
on
I,
it?
I can do it from here, I can,
You certainly may.
okay,
Cameras will catch
okay.
you.
And I just want to warn that I do think some other folks were hoping to attend, so we may get some other folks
Okay.
who may come in shortly. So apologize for the mix-up with the scheduling, but I did prepare a brief statement that I would appreciate if I could share here. In 2019, well, my name's Amanda Allen, for those who don't know me. Hi, everyone. In 2019, my spouse and I visited town for the first time on a day trip and immediately fell in love with Peterborough. We made it our goal to move here and raise our young family, and in 2021, we were lucky enough to settle into a house on Old Dublin Road. Our initial expectations of community have been blown out of the water by the kindness, diversity, an immeasurable wealth and human capital in the town's residents, many of whom are here in the room today. The symbiotic relationship by which small businesses, arts, and families support each other's growth is something unknown to other places and only truly understood by those who can call Peterborough home. Peterborough is the first town I've personally felt at home in. For me, home is a place where I can be my authentic self, freed of the burdens of performing, pretending, or constantly reshaping myself into a form acceptable by the standards of others. It's where connection comes easily, where quiet moments feel full, and where the rhythm of life matches my own. Home is a place where those around me offer not just kindness and openness, but genuine recognition of who I am, where I am seen, heard, and valued without condition. I've enjoyed all of those feelings of safety and belonging in Peterborough. It's a place that embraces both the individual and the collective, where my quirks aren't just tolerated but valued, and where community feels genuine and not forced. It is my hope that with these proposed policy amendments, Peterborough can always be a home to all, regardless of background, identity, or circumstance. A place where equity is more than a value, it's a practice. Where our systems reflect the same care and inclusivity that so many of us have found in our neighborhoods and friendships. To ensure that the warmth, safety, and recognition I've experienced here are not the privileges of the few, but the rights extended to everyone who calls this town home. And to that end, and with the support of many residents in this town, I am requesting that the Select Board adopt the following personnel policy amendments with a statement as follows. To demonstrate the town's commitment to ensuring that all individuals, whether residents, employees, or members of the public, are treated with dignity, fairness, and respect. This includes equal access to municipal services, public facilities, and participation in town programs, regardless of identity or background. This policy expressly includes protections for individuals of diverse identities and expressions. There are 6 items on my list that I can review here. The first is training requirements, that the town shall provide regular training to all municipal employees and public safety personnel. The trainings will focus on respectful treatment, professional service standards, and equitable conduct in all interactions with the public. Establishing a public safety liaison. A member of the public safety team or department shall be designated as a liaison for individuals who wish to raise concerns or seek additional support regarding fair treatment or related service matters. The use of public facilities, that all individuals may use public restrooms and facilities in accordance with their expressed identity. The town shall provide reasonable accommodations when appropriate and as required by law. The use of municipal resources, that no town funds, staff time, or facilities shall be used in a manner that results in direct or indirect unfair treatment of any individual or group. And then, of course, I kind of switched the order of the last 2, so I'll read them out of order, I apologize. Establishing a committee for inclusive governance. The town shall establish a committee for inclusive governance composed of residents representing a broad range of experiences and perspectives. This group will advise the town on issues related to inclusion, equity, and access in municipal operations and community life. The group will meet regularly and submit recommendations to town administrator and select board on how to strengthen community engagement and ensure inclusive practices. And finally, an annual policy review, that the town administrator and advisory committee shall conduct an annual review of relevant municipal policies and practices. This review will identify opportunities for improvement and recommend necessary updates to maintain fairness for all.
That's a lot. Thank you for pulling all that together.
Yes, of course.
Hi. Welcome.
Everybody was like students. You'd be in the front.
It was are available. Okay, I'm not sure I have any questions about this. I mean, first of all, I really appreciate your statement of finding Peterborough and why you're here and what you love about it. I mean, I think we've all, we were previously talking about the Children in the Arts event that just happened and how this place is it's on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
So, and I personally really appreciate your efforts in putting this together, and I think it's something that could be easily put on the books. Any thoughts from you guys?
Well, how's it work now?
How does it work now?
Don't we have policies in the codes
Absolutely.
that for
So we,
addressing these things?
there's two levels of that touch on a lot of what's been discussed here. And this is what we had talked about when we met a couple months ago
Yeah.
now, I think. The first piece is, was adopted at town meetings as Chapter 41 of the Town of Peterborough's Code Book.
Come on in.
Welcome.
Town of Peterborough's Code Book in 1998. This is our Code of Ethics, which has a lot of the same similar language and thoughts with regards to how town employees interact with each other and with the public. It uses language that, was more in the air in 1998 as opposed to language that we're talking about now. So obviously, similar thrust, though, times have changed a little bit. So one of the things that we had talked about is that there could be an amendment to this chapter of the code book, but because this is a piece of code that was adopted at town meeting, it has to be done at town meeting, not just an action of the Board of Selectmen. So we're a little bit out of cycle for that. It's something that can be done though. But you can see that the policy statement is not dissimilar. And I'll just read this one section. I won't read the whole thing. But as citizens of the town of Peterborough, we appreciate that we live in a community where people relate to each other with openness, honesty, fairness, and respect. We honor those values and seek to live by them in our own lives. In the conduct of our public affairs, we expect that those who serve our community as public servants to act in accordance with these same values. As public servants, we mean to include all elected and appointed officials of the town, all full-time and part-time employees of the town, whether paid or unpaid, and all volunteers who serve us on behalf of the whole community. We place our trust in these individuals and have confidence that they will serve us knowledgeably, responsibly, and effectively, having in their hearts and minds the best interests of our entire community. Specifically, we ask each of them to subscribe to the following guidelines of the Code of Ethics that we have adopted for our community. And then following that, it goes into sections on conducting business, discrimination, equal treatment, confidentiality, abiding by laws, and avoiding conflicts of interest, and so forth. So it does touch on a bit of that, particularly in the discrimination section, where public servants will conduct their business with the highest standards of honesty, reliability, consistency, and fairness, and treat all fellow workers and citizens with dignity and respect. No person will be discriminated against based on their age, race, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or sexual orientation. Public servants should ensure that the interests of the community and fairness are their primary considerations. So that's already in place, and that could certainly be amended to reflect some of the, where, as appropriate, some of this language. The other piece that we have, and that you'll recall that this came to town meeting in 2017. These are the two articles that were adopted by town meeting in 2017 that built upon that in order to ensure that Peterborough is a safe and welcoming community for all. Employees of the town of Peterborough shall not inquire about, report, or act upon any person's immigration status under any circumstances while performing their duties. And second, that the town of Peterborough affirms its commitment to the rights ensured by the First and Fourth Amendments of the Constitution of the United States of America, and declares that in the town of Peterborough, no person shall be required to declare their religious or philosophical beliefs or affiliation, nor sign a registry of any belief or affiliation. So those then got incorporated into the employee handbook. And you'll see this here in Chapter 15, the conduct of employees, and that really just restates what I just read, so I won't say that again, but you get the idea. And then lastly, because the town of Peterborough receives federal funding, we're also required to abide by federal law in terms of Title VI, which is the Civil Rights Act, and all of the other legislation that's come since then with regards to no discrimination against individuals, inclusiveness in public meetings, and so on and so forth. And so we're required to have plans in place. We're required to have an individual who serves as that civil rights liaison, and so on. So we do comply with all of that. Chief Walker has been our civil rights liaison in the past, and Danica Malone is going through the process of updating all of our documents so that they're reflecting of some recently revised language. So we're working through all of that process. Getting back to this. So some of the things here would require, again, town meeting vote. There's other components here that would need to go through the personnel committee because they require a change to the employee handbook. So I would suggest running it through Personnel Committee first, getting their input, and then taking them up. But that's,
Personnel committee?
so the Personnel Committee is made up 50% by management and 50% by employees. They're the ones that review all of the changes that are either required or requested, whether it's by select board, myself, Lily Gilligan, whomever, and then we put that language all together and try to review with an eye from each department, you know, how does this impact their work? How do we make sure that it doesn't interfere? Because as you know, Town of Peterborough isn't just a monolith. We are essentially running multiple businesses all under the same umbrella. So, you know, what works really well for administration employees may not work particularly well for IT employees or rec employees, for instance. So, all that together. So that's how we do, that's how we, in a nutshell, that's how we address these things now. And that's how I see we can move this forward, if you choose to do so.
Questions?
Just a couple things. First of all, enforcement of these codes are pretty much from the department heads down, right? You're the top of the list.
In terms of the employees, yes.
Right,
Mhm.
right, and they're trained as they're hired, I assume.
Yes, every employee who's hired by the Town of Peterborough is required to complete an anti-harassment training. It's approximately 1 hour online training course. It's provided to us by Primex, which is our liability insurance provider, so obviously they have an interest in us also completing that.
So, if I'm not incorrect, most of the provisions that are being presented here are already embedded in our code.
Much of them are,
And
yes.
this would be redundant if we wanted to adopt this directly.
So there are some things that are not specifically laid out in code. We don't necessarily have a public safety liaison, we do have the civil rights liaison. So the way I'm reading this is that that would be an overlapping, it'd be the same person essentially. The use of public facilities, we don't address this at all, and nor do we police it. It's not something that we have really any interest in
So-
policing.
There's no secret about why this is coming forward, right? We all know that certain demographic people's rights have been blatantly attacked, and legislation is passed, and the House and the Senate in our own state that attack a demographic of people, and that's where this has come from, and we have the right, based on those pieces of legislation, to put into our policies something like a bathroom statement, and going forward, make sure that no one does harass anybody going to a bathroom. It may not happen now, it just doesn't happen because it's not on people's radar, but it will happen going forward with the emboldened attack on people lately. So is that something that could be incorporated without going to town meeting? I mean, it seems like an additional
This would be, so
obvious.
to me, I'm not sure, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the intent is to ensure that town employees aren't going to be policing public restrooms.
It's also to communicate to the general public that we trust individuals to choose facilities that are most comfortable and appropriate for their own use, and to make sure that that is emboldened in, and I'm not going to use the right words, I'm not a politician, I don't work here, but, that is emboldened in the town policies. So it's something that anchors a culture of access for all people who live here and visit our town. And I would say it's not even specifically about policing genders in bathrooms, it's the little things like making sure there's a trash receptacle in the stall in the men's room, or, having, just equal amenities across all facilities.
Bonnie, you have something?
I do, yeah. So I appreciate what you've brought forward. It's very important, especially building on what Tyler just said. I do recognize that we have sections that cover similar things or the same things, but I would be really interested in making sure we take a look at this thoughtfully and align it with what we have and make sure that, as you said, it's been written a while ago. And make sure that the things that are written here and how they're written here can be used to update and bring our policies up to kind of current thinking and to support what you're bringing forward. So I think we need to be careful. I think to Bill, your point, I think we need to be careful that just taking it as is and
Sure.
plopping it down.
Yeah.
Because we have to be able to work with one integrated document. But I do value the importance of taking a look at all of these things and seeing how they can fit in and to update language as appropriate to make sure it's reflecting what you're bringing forward.
I appreciate that, and I agree. The recognition that the language of the past is clearly not strong enough to continue to ensure the safety of the people who live here. Even if it's the sense of safety as much as it is real safety, those two things are important and worth recognizing. Part of this, of course, is that committee for inclusive governance, which the thought behind it was to model it after the Affordable Housing Committee that started more informally, or the Clean Energy Committee that's here in Peterborough, that could participate in this annual policy review, though, so that once we kind of clean up the old and bring it up to modern times. 1998, people that were born in 1998 can almost be president at this point. Then that way that we can be assured that Peterborough continues to be flexible as social change happens and continues to be modern and a welcoming place for young families.
So what do we think the procedure should be? Are we empowered to make changes to policy? The select board?
So the select board is, so the way that the employee handbook is written is that the policies within the handbook are first reviewed by the personnel committee and then recommended to the select board. The select board then reviews and then makes a vote whether or not to adopt.
I think that should be the procedure.
With regards to the town's code of ethics, that language from 1998, that was originally adopted by town meeting, and so it can only be amended by town meeting.
Right.
But of course, the select board has a strong hand in the language that is presented to town meeting on the warrant, so.
So do we agree this should go to the advisory committee?
Yeah,
Let's hear if anybody else has anything to add
Yeah.
or questions about anything. Seth?
I just wanted to make note that specifically in the existing language, I think that maybe some folks feel that sexual orientation covers gender identity, but it does not. And having gender identity added to that language at a minimum would be, honestly, vitally important right now.
Sorry, I'm supposed to call on you, and you're supposed to state your name for the record, so the minutes get that.
Seth Chatfield, Peterborough, sorry. We're all Peterborough, but yeah.
Kate?
Yes, so Kate Cunningham. So I think what you just described has to do with the personnel handbook and so forth, but doesn't address the point that Amanda made about a formation of a committee for inclusive governance, modeled perhaps on those others. So that would obviously be a different set of steps and procedures.
Yeah.
Could you
So
tell
that's
us how that might work?
Yeah, that's a select board action, so the select board would decide what the charter of this committee would be, what they would be empowered to do or not do, who would be members of the committee and so forth. So that's something for the select board to consider.
Great, thank you for that point, Kate. I almost totally spaced on that, and that's something that we could get, have interested people involved with, working with one of us.
Yes. It'd be nice to get interested people together to develop a charter for us to adopt.
Just like the energy one of the housing.
Right.
Yeah.
Certainly.
One quick question. On the first point, Are there existing training programs specifically geared towards public employees, and how are they accessed, and is there a cost?
Sure, so I did my research before I came to the
Budget,
meeting. So I did find a wealth of reputable and free trainings that are asynchronous for municipal employees. And I also found this wonderful training for law enforcement specifically, that is an asynchronous training that a law enforcement officer could apply for a grant for, which I would be more than happy to help with. I'm sure the committee could be, and if it exists, the committee would be happy to participate in. And that there's also a more robust training from that same provider that would establish that public safety liaison, again, at no cost with that grant application.
Thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the police department does have a training program geared towards this.
So the police department follows the state standards and trainings, and they do have various trainings throughout the year that address components of this.
Right, I seem to recall a conversation that I had with Chief Gennard
Yeah.
regarding this. So, I don't know, do you know Chief Gennard?
I've been in meetings with him, but I don't know him personally. I guess the point of this is to say out loud that this is true for Peterborough. So
Right.
what already exists, again, I would argue is not strong enough for the residents here to feel secure. So part of why we all live here is because Peterborough to this point has done a much better job than many other places, but there's still room for improvement.
Are you aware of community conversations that they hold here in Peterborough?
No, I'm not.
I should put you in touch with them. That would be a good topic for community conversations.
Yeah, I mean, I would really appreciate, oh, go ahead.
There's Sue Martin's involved with that, right?
Oh, yes, yeah.
But I would really appreciate, if you want, this is, I believe how it happened with the housing committee, is just bring some people together and formulate a mission and an intent for the committee that you can bring to us.
Sure.
I would appreciate that.
Do you have a template or guidelines? Is there a how-to manual for that?
Not really.
Okay.
Like a mandate.
I'll just keep throwing
Yeah.
spaghetti at the wall.
And you
guys
could
say
take,
yes.
well, actually, you could take a look at the other committees.
Okay.
Yeah, take a look at the other
Sure.
committees. They're
Yeah.
online.
Yeah, and so if you could do that, bring that to us.
Yeah.
That's something we could respond to.
Okay.
Right, and we had discussed the difference between an ad hoc committee where it's just a group of people gathering
Yeah.
and coming up with recommendations for the town, which
Yeah.
the energy committee kind of started as, I think we're the housing committee, well, maybe both. And then eventually, we considered different things that came from those meetings, and then eventually they turned into actual town committees. So who knows where that sort of thing could go. Anybody else have any questions about anything? Al?
Al Lennis, question about the school system. I assume that this would be, since it's townwide, may involve the school, these issues certainly would be present in the school system. Is there any discussion with the school system in terms of how it feels about these issues and whether it would incorporate it into its activity, if you want to call it that, or its rules?
So I'll pause and answer, and I don't want to step on anyone's toes here. My intention was not to touch the school system here. I feel like that's an entity more appropriate for discussion from parents and educators that are in the school system, and my kids don't go to the public schools here, so I wouldn't feel comfortable to represent the issues there.
Is there anyone else?
Jared Chisholm, Peterborough. On the use of the public facilities element of it, what are if an employee were to disobey those guidelines, is this a zero tolerance policy, or what would be the remedial actions or whatnot that an employee would face if they were to, I guess, how is this going to be enforced is really what I'm looking for with these town employees.
It would be subject to the discipline policy. So, I mean, anything from a verbal warning through termination, it really depends on the situation.
Circumstances.
Yes, depends on a lot of factors that I can't even imagine at the moment, but it would be subject to the discipline policy.
Anyone else? Okay. Yeah, thank you so much for working on this. I know it's
Thank you to everyone who came today, I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and really heartwarming to say. Thank you.
So coming back, is the procedure then, we're going to take this and try to incorporate it through the advisory committee?
Well,
Or get
I think, let me, because I didn't see this until towards the end of the day, Thursday, so I haven't really had a lot of time to parse this down, but let me break it up into chunks, which pieces of this would require town meeting action, which pieces would require going through the personnel process, and which pieces require separate select board action. So I think that once I just haven't really had a whole lot of time to go through it yet, so let me go through that, and then I can update you folks through our weekly meetings, and we can decide how to go from there.
That's good,
Okay.
great start. And in the meantime, there's probably a few people in the audience that are be interested in getting together in a committee.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right?
I think
So-
bringing the Band-Aid and the approach and who
Yeah,
would be helpful.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And we'll pull it
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
And we'll probably have more ideas for Nicole to go through, so, if you open the floodgates.
Yep.
All right, well, yeah, thanks for that. If you want to stick around, we're going to talk about some immigration policies recently, right?
I believe that's next one, Mark.
Tyler?
Yes, Sue.
Sue Martin. I'm sorry it was late, anyways. But to the extent that I took a petition, this piece, no. not
Yeah, sorry, I moved back to the
the other
agenda.
piece. And for people who weren't able to attend tonight, and asked if they would, if they were interested, sign or anything. So I don't know how many people here are interested specifically or support this or don't support it or where everyone is, but I do have several pages of people who are also supportive of this idea. And since I don't know where it all is landing,
That's
I'll
great.
just
That's
let you
great,
know.
Sue.
There are more people.
Yeah.
Excellent. And that, so where could that land? A petition of sorts? Would it kind of grow with the committee that works on something like this and then show support that whatever works out of the committee?
However the board wants to move forward with that. We don't have anything that requires a petition at this point. It seems like you're all in favor of working through these policy ideas. so-
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, good one. Thanks, Sue.
And I just asked that it be reflected in the meeting minutes that Sue had brought many names in support
Oh,
that
yeah.
couldn't be here in person.
Sure.
I mean, Sue, if you want to drop them off with us, you can certainly do that, and we'll incorporate it into the record. If you want to leave a petition with us.
Oh, as part of the minutes.
Oh, I see,
Yeah.
I see. With everyone's names listed.
Yes, I mean, if you'd like to do that,
We'll
it's
just-
not required.
Easily.
Just want to give people credit for their support.
It's rather informal.
Okay.
Whatever you're comfortable with.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
All right, another item on our agenda, one of our citizens had requested that the board consult with town attorney regarding the recent House Bill 511 and Senate Bill 62. And I don't know specifically which those are, but
They're essentially identical.
yeah, and they relate to our policy that you put up earlier in numbers 9 and 10 regarding immigration, correct?
That is the question, is do these bills conflict with the town's policy on immigration and immigration process? So if you choose to do so, can ask the town attorney to render a decision, and then once that decision's been received, you can vote whether or not to make that, or not decision, sorry, opinion, and then you can vote on whether or not to make that opinion public. But I can't request that you make an opinion public because it's typically confidential.
Right, and that would be a board gathering, getting on a phone call with the town attorney and
Not even necessarily, you would probably just receive it in writing and then make a vote at the next meeting.
okay. And in any, we hear about the states suing the federal government. Geez, let's not go that far, but is there any chance the town would have any teeth to sue the state? I'm not suggesting this, I'm just asking the question.
I had had the same idea.
Well, I'm just, because that's what's happening now. People's rights are being infringed upon, and it's starting to go through the courts, and we're finding that the infringement is unlawful. So if our town has a policy, it means that's something that is even in our wheelhouse.
It's a really good question for the attorney. I can't
Okay.
speak to that.
Yeah.
So if that's a question you would like to ask the attorney, we can incorporate that as well.
Of course, I'm no lawyer, but in my reading of the analysis and kind of just comparing it to the language that we have, I don't see any conflict, to be honest with you. It wouldn't be bad to get an attorney.
Well, wasn't one of them that would specifically say that the town policies are overridden?
So this one, I believe this is the one, and as you can see in the analysis, this will prohibit blanket policies against compliance with immigration detainers for inmates, and prohibits any government entity or law enforcement agency from restricting the use and transmission of inmate immigration information in use with compliance with this chapter. Reading a little bit more into the details, it's of course a little bit more nuanced than that. I mean, this is just a highlight, top level summary. So I really do think it requires interpretation from someone who's got a legal mind.
Okay, fair enough. Any other questions that we may want to ask our attorney? Anybody?
Now, this hasn't hit AOT's desk yet. but
It's in the pile,
It's in the
about
pile.
to go to her desk, yeah. And she has signaled that she is
Yeah.
planning to sign it.
Yeah, she's already got her stamp made. You got a signature?
Yeah.
And so this is the select board, Senate bill, that also provides that unless expressly prohibited by state or federal law, local government entities may not prohibit or impede any state, federal law enforcement agency from complying with federal immigration law. And I believe this also requires us to allow them to use our facilities, including the jail cells, if they're adequate to be used as such. So.
Okay, so we have that. Going forward, we'll look into that.
So is that if you want to all agree or vote in favor?
Agree.
Yes.
I agree.
I agree.
Do we need a vote?
No.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. We did the Fosh. You've been waiting so patiently to tell us about the upgrades.
You guys ready for
Station. Welcome.
Fire away.
I'll scoot up.
Speaking of peg station upgrades. Look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah. See?
That wasn't planned, but that's part of this.
It's never gone out for more than 90 seconds, like some air traffic control has.
Oh my gosh.
I just flew a couple times. Anyway.
Okay.
Thank you for putting me on the agenda. So, the PEG station stands for Public Education Government TV. We've had it in place, 17, 18 years
It's been a
ago.
long time now.
We do upgrades about every 5 years or so because the equipment dies down, So it's about the 5th year. We did the last one during the pandemic that summer. And so we're doing the next big rev. In a nutshell, we are replacing all the cameras. We are upgrading the video controller for the video switcher for all the video. We're also inputting a new audio system with new ceiling mic arrays and a nice tile mic. And we're also improving the modern conferencing. That's one of the kind of bigger things or improvements is to install Zoom capabilities in this room to alleviate some other usage of town buildings, we'll say, for volunteer committees that the town, we have numerous, as you guys know. So I'm going to outfit this room with that Zoom capability with that, and then also broadcast equipment will be upgraded. And there is an opportunity to do a Zoom meeting and a broadcast and have the face come up as part of the projector. So that's all built in, and of course, upgrading the remote equipment operation of all this stuff. And the price tag on this version, we went through several versions. Tim Bresnick, by the way, is behind the camera, put all this stuff together. This version's $40,459, roughly, so 41,000 approximately. Covering all those upgrades, audio, video, broadcast, and everything. The only thing we're not upgrading is the big broadcast component. Everything else in between is going, cabling included. That's in a nutshell the upgrade plan.
And that is all, just to confirm, that budget all comes from the consolidated franchise?
Yes, so the PEG budget.
It's not coming out of the
Yes,
budget?
it's franchise fees paid by Comcast cable TV subscribers only. And approximately 1,300 subscribers?
1,300-ish.
Yeah, so.
It's Comcast, not consolidated.
Oh,
Yeah, sorry.
Comcast.
I didn't
Yeah.
even notice, but yes, Comcast is our franchise agreement.
And the funds are coming from Comcast?
Yes, the funds are, we already have them, no tax revenues involved. The fund, last time I checked with Lily a few months ago, was approximately 83,000. So we're looking to spend roughly half
Yeah.
on this upgrade. And we get a check every quarter.
The last one that we got was for the period ending March 31st. That was $6,241.87.
Don't we mean Xfinity?
Yes.
Sorry, not Comcast.
Well, Expend is their product, Comcast.
It's Comcast, it comes from Comcast.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay, fine.
But it is specific to the Expendable product, you are correct.
Consolidated, Xfinity, Comcast, whatever.
But it's a good program, it's been working for us, and so this is...
Yes,
Great.
since the pandemic, we have a lot more streamers online, a lot more people watch.
Sure.
Plus, we can go back and watch, like, as you referenced, a meeting, they can go back and watch the meetings from 3 years ago and 5 years ago during the pandemic, what was going on.
And you talked about the Zoom integration during live broadcast.
Yes.
So
So you
that's
can-
one of those things, you've seen me struggle with that while we're doing budget committee meetings and we're trying to get people zoomed in and whatnot. So this will really help us streamline that, allow us to make sure that budget committee members who are zooming into meetings when they're on vacation or whatever are still visible to the public and are still able to actively participate, something that we've really had a tough time juggling with the equipment that we currently have available. One of the other issues is, like you saw, this cable, that these cables are constantly failing. They're also a major trip hazard. And so it would be really nice to upgrade that as well, make that a more seamless for everybody and a little bit safer.
Yes, and that's the barcode system, to have more computers join the projector. In that case, it's wireless, so Nicole or Roe doesn't unplug, or Nicole could go wireless too, I guess.
Yeah, I'd be able to go wireless.
We'll check that out. We like wired. Remember, we're wired. So,
And is this just informational? Do you need a vote or?
I was,
or-
in this case, since PEG revenue, we do need the approval of the board to expend the funds and move forward with the quote and installation.
Well, I congratulate you guys, you did a good job on this thing. I looked through those documents, I didn't go with a fine-tooth comb, but it seems like you covered all the bases.
Tim's been working on this for many months, ever since we talked about the upgrade. And we've asked a lot of questions internally, because
Sure.
Tim listens to all the meetings. So seriously, he kind of picks up when people kind of, oh, we should have that, so,
Yeah,
yeah.
No, he's a great asset back there, really.
He is,
yeah. Thank you, Tim.
You have enough donglers on order? Is there always,
Donglers.
things are always missing, right?
So I just, if I could, I just want to really thank you and Tim for putting this together. I did look through it thoroughly, as you know. There's a couple of things that I like about it, particularly you focus a lot, I've looked at all the equipment, you focused a lot on where possible hardwiring, which I think is really important for reliability, security, and resilience. So I really was very happy to see that. I will just say, and this may not be something everyone agrees with, is that the one thing I wonder about is line 13, which is the wireless piece.
That's that click share for other people to present or use the projector without unplugging.
Yeah, so it's going to be constantly casting. It's okay, but I think it would be better to be hardwired still, for all the reasons I just enumerated. So that's my only one thing I would bring up.
you have a question? Oh, okay.
And so what would that involve? So that right now, this is wireless. This is what we're talking about.
No, this is all wired.
This is wired. Yeah.
Oh,
So,
Wired into the wall. So the remote's just to turn the
Just
thing
to turn it on and off.
That's it. That's all it does. So this is currently, I've got this running into this port, or sorry, this hub. And the hub is then connected by HDMI to the wall. That runs it up to the ceiling where the signal is then split. The signal goes to the projector, and then it also goes to the broadcast equipment.
So it's wired now.
right.
I'm recommending we keep it wired.
And so the concern for wireless is potential hacking or it failing or
Yeah, all,
or the signal.
all of it.
So I don't think this eliminates the wired option, it's just.
no, this is an
add-on to-
additional, we're still having wired.
But you could keep it just wired.
Yeah, we would just, the alternative would be, if you didn't do the wireless, the alternative, we would have to just change the plate and run some other cabling.
Can you simplify it so it's not running back against this wall somehow, or? Conduit.
It has to run somewhere.
Don't we
so-
have a floor?
Nicole and I have talked about ripping up the floor, but
Yeah.
it's a little expensive and
It's-
touchy, so
and
we have
it's
discussed
also-
all these possibilities. We talked about conduit and other more cabling, but there's more cost, that's where, so.
And every time we open up the walls of the floor in this place, we find lots of artifacts
Yeah,
that we have to work around.
yeah.
It is, the
Yeah.
building is over 100 years old, so
Yeah.
it's messy.
And that click share option, just because Tim again has been watching this for 12 years, we watch the other meetings. Sometimes there's a lot of people in the room sharing, and budget season especially. So that's why you threw that option in there. We can do the plate for a few $100 and run the cabling. It doesn't save necessarily a whole lot of money, but it takes away that wireless option. And that's the only thing wireless in here besides, I think, a couple mics.
That's the only
Yeah,
thing.
so.
Yeah.
And that's because of again, the sharing. And we do have it over the library in every room. That's where the stuff came up too, so.
And has been fairly successful there.
Yes, and that's
Understand.
part of that secondary is to alleviate some of the pressure on the library rooms
Right.
for some of our town
Yeah.
functions.
Many of our town committees prefer to meet in the library now because they have those wireless options. It makes it a little bit easier, and it's, does tie up those rooms quite a bit, so. So I'm bringing the committees back into this one.
Yeah, and the wired wouldn't really, I mean, you still are gonna have,
Oh, we're still about
you're
wire.
still gonna have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And you're still gonna have for the Zoom, you're gonna have the little.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be a lot of things. Even if you kept this wired, that would be similar to the library.
Yes.
I mean, we're keeping the wire no matter what.
Yeah.
This is the click
Yeah.
share, just additional.
Yeah,
If the click share wasn't here, we would have to just repanel and do some cabling, so.
yeah.
Tim and I are indifferent. Again, we watch this, we observe, we listen to volunteers who use this room, and we just try to address it. Tim started this back in March of '24, I think you told me.
Yeah.
May of '24, sorry. So,
Year.
a little over a year, going back and forth. This stuff takes a while, you talk through the process, talk about goals.
Yeah.
It's not exactly IT, straight IT.
Yeah.
And plus, we have multiple constituents. We have planning board, zoning board, select board, Nicole, other staff, so. Tim does a great job of getting through that.
I won't follow my sword.
Okay.
Tim mentioned no floor plate, Nicole.
No foreplay?
It did not work out in the library, so I don't have details, but just,
All right.
he just said that on text. He's like, no floor plate. Ask the library how much it worked out.
Okay.
So,
There it is then.
yes, he learned a lot over there. So,
Okay.
I make a motion that we approve funds for the PEG upgrades.
I'll second it. All those in favor? You should have asked the audience.
Oh.
Anybody have any questions?
Hey, come on, Bruce, say
They're
something.
like, hey, really? So,
Okay.
Do you want to say something? Okay.
I just went through it line by line too.
Yeah.
I'll say something. I know that currently the sound system doesn't work very well when you're viewing at home. I get a lot of complaints about it cutting, things cutting on and off. So whatever improves that is a vast.
if you're watching it live, that could be some of the internet stuff.
Yeah. That's what's
Recording should be fine. We've learned that, but this is part of the audio upgrade, so let us know in 6 months.
Okay, yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. I'm all for that.
Part of the limitation also the way Comcast broadcasts. we've had that issue, but hopefully this and the way upgrades Comcast did do this past year, we'll see how
Because
the.
it turns people off, they stop, they won't watch. I mean,
Yeah.
I've heard about that, let's put it that way.
Yeah, hopefully we'll alleviate that too.
Good point, thanks, Al. Great. So how soon you getting started tomorrow? You already started.
No, we had to get the approval to schedule it. He wouldn't schedule it with us, trust me, I tried. Until it's approved, which is fair. So we're trying this summer, when you guys are only doing once a month before budget season starts.
Excellent.
So yeah, that's the goal. Tim will get right on it tomorrow and we'll get it scheduled.
Great.
So, great.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks again.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, one more thing. Oh, two more things.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark. Let's get the minutes out of the way, because that's quick. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from April 15th.
I'm going to second it.
And then all those in favor? Aye. You don't get a vote, 'cause
Yeah,
we're-
honestly, yeah.
Great, so that's done. All right, now, select board liaison assignments.
Do you?
I'll go first.
Nicole, can you put the tables up?
Yes.
I can go
And
first.
there were a couple missing off of it.
Yeah, there were some missing. Yeah, so Bill, you can help us.
And some mischaracterization there. Yeah, I've been on the master plan steering committee. But I think that's the only.
This might be an old list. It's
Yeah.
might be
That's what
from
I
a
got
couple of years
from-
ago.
Yeah, that's probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm on the planning board currently. We can talk about that. I'm more than willing to continue with the DT, TIF, and the Economic Development Authority.
Okay.
Pretty close around. I don't know that there's much going on with the fire and ambulance
That's-
station.
That's effectively done, so
So we just.
think
I don't
we-
think anyone needs to be on there.
Okay.
Great.
Community Power, they meet twice a year, that's not too bad. So I'll continue to do that.
Keep that, yeah.
Instead of being on the master, well, I'm kind of hoping that Bonnie will take on the planning board, since you are interested in housing and so on.
Yeah, we did do it.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, that's perfect. And I could go back on to the, well, it's not on this list, but the Conval Select Board Advisory Committee.
Okay. That'd be
Take that
good.
on.
Yeah, because I'm running into conflicts. I've missed 2 or 3 already, and we've only met
Yeah.
maybe 6 times. So, and I'm gonna miss this coming Thursday.
Yeah, I'm around this.
All right, cool.
So
Excellent.
I'll just do that.
I'll forward the agenda to you.
There's also the Cold Spring, whatever. There's an advisory.
Stone
committee.
Cold Steve
Stone,
Austin Waterworks.
yes, that's it.
Stop.
I'm already on that committee, so I'll just continue that.
You sure?
They're finishing up.
I'll join it as they're finishing up.
Oh, no, they're just starting work.
Yeah,
The
they're actually-
advisory committee is just
Oh.
starting now.
Well, if you want to, it's all yours.
Well, it depends on when they meet too, because I'm working.
Oh, true.
That has been tricky for some of these. I'll stick with the Heritage Commission and Master Plan Committee, Steering Committee.
Yeah, that West Peterborough is defunct at this point.
There's also Conservation Commission that I'll stick with. I do appreciate that group. South Peterborough too. Was Bill doing that?
Bill was doing that because he kind of sort of lives in the neighborhood.
Right.
I guess I could do that. Well, let's see, you're doing one of the tips, right, downtown?
Greater, yeah, the GD TIF.
I could do that. I don't live there.
That Recreation Committee sounds tantalizing, but elected?
It is an elected committee.
Yeah.
Oh, elected committee.
It's an elected
Okay,
committee.
okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind being on the recreation.
Unless you rec.
Yeah.
Boy, I didn't know we were even attending those. Was Bill on that committee?
I think he was.
I think he
He
was
was.
the
Yes, he
liaison,
was.
yes.
Because
Oh, that's right.
when he first got elected, that's
That's right.
right, he joined that and then he did a heck of a job helping
That's-
shepherd that
Yeah.
project through, so,
Yeah.
Good point.
yeah. So it's left unattended, but again, if it's during.
They have it during the day.
You do? I would be interested, but I can't.
All right, I'll do it.
I can't take any more time off for work. Hey, what else are you doing during the day?
Nothing. Reading mystery novels. What else?
Oh, let's give you something else.
Yeah, you're busy. All right. Is that it?
Is that
And
it?
you're staying with Heritage Commission?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I
Which
think
we are looking for
that's-
members, by the way. We're down to three of us.
Do they put the Conval?
That's Select Board Advisory Committee.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
I just stuck that in down there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Great.
And conservation's there, okay. So we've got them all covered. You'll send this out to us?
Oh, and I will
Okay.
be liaison to the affordable housing.
Affordable housing. Stick that in the boxes.
Yeah.
So we had a little discussion about that, whether Affordable Housing Committee is a full-fledged committee or whether they are a subcommittee of the EDA. Currently, you're a subcommittee of the EDA, but you want to be elevated to a full.
I don't know, I
Does it
mean,
matter?
it sits on the town site as a full committee.
Yeah, well, that doesn't
Yeah.
Hey, but it would be good to have, I mean, there's no harm in being there. I mean, and, you know, because the reason we are on these liaisons to these is to bring back to the select board what these groups are doing. So we kind of have an idea.
And
Because
also-
because everything's kind of integrated.
Both the
Yeah.
TIFs are advisory and under the
EDA.
EDA as well, so it's certainly not like it's the only one that's.
Yeah. And I think it's very active, and so I think there's value in having a select board member
Sure.
in it and bringing that into.
Oh, sure, absolutely. But I think they can still remain as a subcommittee to advise the select board and.
Yeah, it's right.
Because they had
It just needs
requested
another
to be part of the
E.
EDA back in the day.
Yeah, or.
Where,
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Committee, Affordable Housing Committee, English
Oh.
teachers going crazy over here.
sorry.
Sorry.
Then you're going to
There
change
you
the
go.
font on those, right, to match?
This is just me
This is
taking
just getting it
notes.
down.
I'm just taking notes to make sure we got it all.
Paper font.
I want to
This is
see-
gonna get
Sorry.
deleted after this meeting, so.
Okay. But don't just delete it, make a copy.
No, I have it. She's got the official
I have the
record.
Word document
Yeah.
going.
These are just my notes for, so that we all have something. to
Yeah,
look
it'd
at.
be nice if you'd send out a copy of this or whatever document so that I can remind myself that I've volunteered.
Justin
Yeah,
can update it. and
I got
Does
send
it
around.
feel good? Does it feel equitable?
I do,
Not in the least.
I think it's totally fair.
Just checking.
Let the minutes go.
Yeah.
I think it's okay. Yeah.
It is, sure. Oh, right, and since I was reelected the chair of this.
Yes.
That's a burden.
That is a burden. Particularly out Karen.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Is that it? Motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
So moved.
I love that.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay, great movie, great meeting. Welcome. Great.
Thank you.
What a packed agenda. Thank you for being here.
Good to be here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good people.